You are now tuned into Five African Brothers Podcast.
Five African Brothers Podcast? Has your father approved this podcast?
This ain't your ordinary podcast. We are five blood brothers and children of the diaspora, and on this podcast, we share our experiences, our struggles, and how we navigate the world as young men and children of the continent. Buckle up.
Struggle.
What's going on, everybody? This is your boy Marv. I am 1/5 of Five African Brothers. Let's say what's up, everybody.
What's going on, everybody? What's going on?
Hey, man, when I tell y'all, you guys listening or watching on YouTube, depending on where you're catching this content, you're in for a treat. This is the podcast to end all podcasts. This is the most cultural podcast you're going to find. We're five brothers of the diaspora, blood brothers, by the way. We're going to talk about a range of topics from economics to politics to building wealth and everything in between. So I want to give everybody here the opportunity to introduce themselves. I'll jump things off. I am Marvin, one of your gracious hosts for Five African Brothers Podcast, brand architect, the all-around coolest guy that you're going to meet on the internet. And I'm so excited to be here to tap in with my brothers. And we're going to move the camera right along to our next host here, Justice, aka Swaggy. Justo, by the way, if you see the social media handles, make sure you follow us at our respective social media handles. Make sure you follow us at Five African Brothers. You see it scrolling on the bottom here. J Ice, Swaggy, Justo. Justice, talk to the people. Let's go.
Hey, how y'all doing? My name is Justice. I'm the youngest of the Five African Brothers. I'm pretty much, just try to keep the energy going. Trying to, add sprinkle in a little comedy. I'm, somewhat of a little party animal, so I'm always trying to keep things fun. But yeah, man, happy to be bringing y'all this content with my brothers. Happy to be doing this, doing this podcast, and yeah, let's get it going.
All right. And our next host, Uche at The Running Speaker. Let the folks know a little bit about yourself.
What's going on, everybody? As my brother mentioned, yes, I am Uche, also known as Uche Ernest. Follow me on my social media handle at The Running Speaker. I'm the most senior fellow here amongst the Five African Brothers. And look, we're going to give it to y'all the best way that we know how. Like Marvin said, you're in for a treat, okay? So we want to thank y'all very much for tuning in today. We look forward to having many more conversations with you in the future. Let's get it.
All right. Next up, got young CJ.
Hey, what's going on, you guys? I'm the fourth born of the family. I like to say that I'm the most athletic a little bit too. You know what I mean? I'm gonna bring a nice reflective side, a little bit of comedy, a little bit of seriousness, but it's gonna be all in good fun. So I can't wait to jump off with you guys, man.
All right. And last but definitely not least, D Boy, aka D Lauren. Let the folks know a little bit about yourself, brother.
Hey, how y'all doing out there? Welcome to the Five African Brothers Podcast. Just get your popcorn ready, man. This definitely gonna be a podcast unlike any other. We plan on bringing you guys unique perspectives on a variety of different topics, but just get ready because you're gonna definitely learn something watching us and listening to us. So stay tuned.
All right, y'all. So we are Five African Brothers, and the good thing about us is that we are not monolithic. We each have our unique value propositions, y'all. We each are gifted in our various ways, but we are more alike than we are different. And so I'm super excited for y'all to tap into this podcast. I'm gonna let the folks know, and everybody here, let the folks know where you tapping in from. I am tapping in from Atlanta, Georgia, home of we won the final seat in the what do you call it? We won the final seat in the election in the Senate, so that was pretty interesting.
Final seats.
And so yeah, I'm glad to see some change moving forward. Hoping to see some change moving forward. Checking in from Atlanta, Georgia. What about you, Justice? Where you tapping in from?
So I currently live and reside in Austin, Texas, live music capital of the world. One of the weirdest cities in America. But yeah, that's where I currently reside, and tapping in from ATX.
All right. And Uche, where you tapping in from?
Hey guys, look, I'm tapping in from Katy, Texas, aka Houston, Texas. It's the small city between Houston and Cyprus that doesn't have an airport, but they still call it a city. I don't know why, but that's where we coming live to y'all from.
That's what's up. And D-Boy, where you tapping in from?
Oh, you know.
Houston, okay.
Houston,
Okay.
Texas, baby.
If you're watching this on YouTube, he repping with his Rockets mask right now.
Texas, baby.
Yes.
H-Town. And CJ, where you tapping in from?
The boys tapping in from the southwest side of Houston, Texas, man. You know, the best side. Yes, sir. Let's go.
Yes, sir.
So a little bit of background about all of us, y'all listening. A little bit of background. So we are 5 African brothers. We are the children of Nigerian immigrants. Parents got here early 80s or so, and we have a wealth of experience in a number of areas. I mean, we've done it all from a beautiful home somewhere in Southwest Houston, Texas, and from there, I truly believe that this podcast came into existence way before what you guys are seeing here. We are all very close in age, from the oldest being early 40s and the youngest being late 20s. So we essentially are the first generation of children from African immigrant parents. And so what we're going to talk about today, or what this podcast is really going to be about, like I said, is us sharing our experiences, our unique value proposition, and the world as we see it through our own lens. So there's not going to be any one answer. There's not going to be any one way that's right or wrong. We each see the world as we see it. So for this particular episode, y'all, we are talking about the vaccine. As many of you know, if you're watching this at present time, there are 2 viable vaccines for the deadly pandemic, COVID-19, which has at this point killed several 100,000 individuals. And so, although we know that we're in the middle of a pandemic and we know that there's a vaccine that's out there, many of us here may be a little bit suspicious on whether or not we're gonna take the vaccine. So, does anybody want to jump in first and say, what their thoughts are on the vaccine, and if you plan on taking it? If not, what are your views on the vaccine? Who wants to go first?
My views on the vaccine is I think somebody said it best in the media, where there's a perpetual fear out there, right? There was fear of the pandemic, fear of the outcome of the pandemic, and now fear of the vaccine. I think we have to take the fear out of it. If you're going to get the vaccine, if you are fearful of the pandemic and the impacts that it may have on you, COVID-19, then absolutely the right thing for you to do to at least eliminate one of the fears, which is what it may do to you, right, is to get the vaccine, right? If I'm not saying go out there and just act like it's not happening like some people are, but understand that people have been impacted by it. So the purpose of you being COVID-19 free is really a lot of times for somebody else. You may not be susceptible to the symptoms. It may not be deadly for you. But if you're asymptomatic and you come around individuals that might be symptomatic, it may be deadly for them. So for everybody, it may be best for you to take the vaccine. Me personally, I'm taking a wait and see approach at this particular moment. Luckily, the age group that I fall in is not a priority yet. So I'm not a healthcare worker, so I'm not among the list of individuals that can get vaccinated now anyway. I think that's a good thing for me, being that I don't necessarily need it per se, but it's allows enough time for us to see, let more research come out, let more information come out, or I'm looking forward to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, which is supposed to be 1 shot versus 2. So that's my take on it, guys.
Just following up on Uche's thoughts with the vaccine. I mean, I think a tweet the other day that said, y'all don't trust the vaccine, but y'all haven't seen polio in decades, right? So, I mean, I feel like it's important that we do understand that, there's a science approach to trying to get rid of this pandemic, and not taking the vaccine isn't going to get us there. So I'm down to take the vaccine, but I definitely just like Uche, I want to wait and see, let's let a couple more waves of the doses continue to go out. Let's see how many people continue to have like some of these one-off allergic reactions and different things like that. It's kind of like the iPhone, you don't want to get the brand new iPhone once it comes out. You want to let them work out the kinks before you get it. So
that's a good point.
I want to return back to regular life. So I plan on definitely taking the vaccine. Like I said, I live in Austin. I want to get back to the concerts, the festivals, South by Southwest. I want to live again. So I'm definitely down to take the vaccine, but a little, I'm not going to be first in line, put it like that.
Yeah,
Right.
I feel you. Well, I guess my views, on it are, very similar to my siblings. I mean, I think it's very important to realize that this is a deadly pandemic that we're dealing with. It's also something that, we know that as people of color, we have been adversely targeted to be essentially the guinea pigs for some of these vaccines that are out there. If you remember the Tuskegee experiment and many other areas where people of color have been essentially used as guinea pigs. So on that side of things, I do wonder, is this something that is, as far as the particular vaccine, is this something that unfairly is being advertised to a specific demographic? And if that specific demographic knows that there are some inherent risks that we're not being made aware of, what are those reactions? Because I'll be honest now, I don't want to grow a third arm or anything like that, after taking the vaccine. But I also know that I don't want to be walking around, wearing a mask for the rest of my life. That's just not going to happen, at least for me personally. I like justice, do want to get back to some semblance of reality. And, that's just how I feel about it. So I'm taking that wait and see approach as well. But I will more than likely get it once my personal family doctor, who knows me, from a health standpoint, says it's Gucci, then I'll know that it's Gucci.
Honestly, I'm with you guys, man. I don't think the government has had a good history when it comes to vaccinating our community. I don't want to be first in line for a lot of things. You know what I mean? I think they say that. They say it's like, it's not always the best to be the first to do some things, man. So I just want to wait and see. I want to wait and see how it affects other people. Give it a couple months, see how, the long-term effects of it to friends, family, people that I know that have gotten it already. And just, we'll kind of go from there.
Me, as far as me, guys, I'm not gonna lie. I'm really on the fence about it. Only because, well, not only but I don't know. I just feel like I don't honestly think that they could have came up with a good vaccine that fast. Just knowing how long it takes. Then you guys came up with a vaccine in under a year, and it's supposed to be effective. So me personally, I don't know. I'm a little bit on the fence about it, and at this moment, I don't plan on taking it until it's like you have to, unless something changes between now and the months coming. I won't be taking it unless I have to.
Now I want to ask everybody here on this podcast, if they attach some bread to the vaccine, how do y'all think that y'all gonna take that? Like if they say we'll give you 10,000 to take the vaccine, will that or could that affect whether or not you take it or how quickly you take it, or if it'll be a requirement? Well, let me ask you this: if they attach some monetary, because I could have swore I heard that floated around a little while ago, that they could attach some monetary benefit to it. Do y'all see that as a motivating factor to take it or no?
Absolutely. If they had some, at the end of the day, like I said, the vaccine is only supposed to be helping us to not fall sick. If you're going to pay me to stay healthy, and I can, it's not like a third strand of the vaccine that they're putting money on down. If it's the same two that, people have been taking, then I will actually might be first in line for that. Get the bread before the bread runs out. And so, yeah, so that's just my take on that.
Anybody else?
I probably would be a little bit more hesitant to take it if they put some money on it. You know what I mean? It's been so much media manipulation with this whole vaccine, COVID, mumbo jumbo, that it's like I'm real skeptical about everything. You know what I mean? So I'm probably gonna be more hesitant if they throw some bread on it. Not gonna lie to you, man.
Now, what about the rest of y'all?
As far as me, I'm gonna just use this saying: if somebody told me, "Hey, I'll pay you X amount of dollars to walk down this alley," you'll be fine, but just walk down this alley. I'm probably not gonna walk down that alley unless it's an alley I've been down before. So, telling me you pay me to go down the alley is not gonna motivate me to go down that alley. Not me.
See,
So I don't
now
know.
I definitely.
You know, I don't give me $10 and I lose my life possibly. Was the $10 worth it? To me, no, not really. So I would have to say no to that.
I personally, and just chiming on deep, I personally just been in a lot of situations where like scared money hasn't made any money, and I'm definitely not trying to like, you know, I don't want to like be paid to be a fool or anything like that, but I've just seen a lot of situations where like you know, friends have kind of like stayed in the air of caution, I think they say, and they haven't taken opportunities such as like, you know, for example, you know, just different type of relief funds that you know you may or may not qualify for, but there's always like, you know, back, you know, Houston, we're affected by a hurricane, and some people were like skeptical on whether or not they wanted to take this and third. Some people got the money, some people didn't. It was like, you know, I bet y'all are gonna XYZ. This might y'all like it. And a year later, those that didn't are still X amount of dollars less than those that did, and we're all fine. So sometimes it's situations like that where I'm like, I do understand of being cautious, but I'm a little more of a risk taker. And you know, when you know, monetary things are involved, and I still know it's like a science to it, like as far as the vaccine and clearing things up, that's why I'm just a little bit more of like, okay, you know, money talks. That's just kind of my approach. Money talks a little bit.
No, that's a good point that you made, Justice. And it's funny. I wanted to hear what everybody else had to say about it. I purposely wanted to go last in this because I feel like how you feel, Justice, and I also feel the same way D-Boy feels, because I mean I believe everybody has a number. Anybody that says I won't sell this for that just means somebody hasn't presented you with the right number yet, okay? And once they present you with the right number, you're like, where I sign. So for me, 10,000 is not the number, because your average, you know, your average funeral cost is $10,000. So that's not gonna be enough. If I'm gonna take that risk, I need something.
Man, he took it there, y'all.
I'm gonna take it. I want something to wear after God forbid, but half the family has to lay me down. They still got something to take care of aside from my life insurance. Okay, so 10,000 ain't gonna be the number. Add a couple more zeros behind it. Now we're talking. Okay, so that's one thing. But it is interesting that you asked that question, Marv, because I read Trader Joe's. Once the vaccine becomes available for everybody, they're going to pay their employees to get vaccinated. Okay,
I didn't know
and
that.
yeah, so and Google, Google is, you know, I read that they're also going to be doing some things in that realm as well. I work in the financial industry. We're considered essential. Okay, we're somewhere underneath. I think we're fourth in line as a priority group once that comes around. But look, it's one of those situations where I think it needs to be individual choice. Okay, you can't mandate people to do things. I think that's where I feel like how some of the individuals feel. I was in Randall's the other day, right? I was in there. I had my mask on. It was a gentleman that came in there that did not have a mask on, and the manager was almost following him around trying to hand him a mask. He just wasn't having it. He just kept on going on about his business, right? The law in Harris County states that businesses must compel individuals to wear masks, but technically they can't make them wear masks. Okay, now these businesses bear the risk of getting fined if individuals are coming into their establishment without masks on. But at the end of the day, it can't be forced upon anybody. That's why I think there's these incentives to maybe pay people to get it. I've heard talks about them tying the next relief to possibly people getting the vaccine. So I get it why they're trying to incentivize individuals to do it, because I think we get to herd immunity status. If a majority of people have taken the vaccine, that's going to help the individuals that didn't take the vaccine either way. So incentivize people to do it. I'm all for that. Force people to do it. I'm not for that. To me, that's that's almost like walk down the alley. Now it's like putting a gun to the back of your head and say, now you walk down the alley. I'm be like, since I don't know what's down that alley, but I know what's in that barrel, I might just stay right here and take my chances with what's in that barrel. You know, I'm not all about force, and we live in a country with freedoms, and I'm all about freedoms. You give people a choice. Okay.
Now let me ask y'all this though. Now we all have vehicles, and we all have to get car insurance. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you're gonna get in your vehicle, which is roughly 5,000 to 6,000 pounds of metal that could kill somebody in an instant, why do y'all think that we're not really cognizant about the requirement? And I'm just using auto insurance as an example, but we're not really tripping on being forced to get insurance to keep from killing somebody else. But if we were incentivized financially, or not even incentivized, we're just told you got to get this vaccine. Why do y'all think people are looking at it a little bit different? Because we're forced to do a lot of things in America. It's just that we're used to it, you know, versus this is something that's kind of fresh.
I kind of think because we can kind of really all say that we've dealt with the situation where, you know, car insurance might have been there, might have not been there. And, you know, I guess the after effects of that kind of told us the seriousness of why we might need car insurance. You know what I mean? I guess with this one, nobody really knows the after effects. You know, I think that's the biggest thing about it. You know, it's real easy to say, you know, what might happen. Huh?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. You know, it's real easy to say what might happen if, you know, we do get this vaccine, we don't get this vaccine. But for me personally, it's that after effect aspect of it. You know, I know what's going to happen if I don't got car insurance and I get into an accident. Somebody else knows that, and they know that risk that they're assuming when they get on the road. So I guess for me, I just can't really look at it like that. You know, I'm still, once again, on the plane of I got to wait and see, you know, because these after effects are all over the place, and it's a whole lot of manipulation. You know what I mean? It is so much manipulation from every angle.
The media.
Yeah, from the media. You know what I mean? And, you know, this person used to be credible. That person used to be, you know, it's just real hard to really call it right now. So, again, I probably have to, you know, I'm going to still have to wait it out, man. I'm going to still have to wait.
So, go ahead, Uche.
To add to CJ's point too, because of how new it is. Keep in mind when the Model T Ford was created, they didn't have seatbelts. Okay, and I'm pretty sure they didn't have the requirement. They didn't have the requirement for auto insurance at the time, right? Not many people were driving at that time. Okay, even when you look at some of the movies from the 50s, you know, you'll see a lot of them didn't have seatbelts on in the movie. So I'm not sure exactly when it became a requirement for vehicles to have seatbelts in it, but throughout time, and then I don't know exactly when auto insurance was a mandate in the United States. We'll probably have to have our history buffs take a look at that. So, like he said, we're in the beginning of this. You know, we're not at a point where every other house has a vehicle or every other person has a vehicle. You know, we're at the beginning phase. So I think at that beginning phase, it's fair for some individuals to say, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to get the vaccine. You know, it's fair. Is it responsible? That too, you know, depends on the individual, you know. So that's my take on that.
So do y'all think that the politics, some of you guys have mentioned it, but do y'all think that our perspective on this vaccine would have been a lot more positive if it wasn't politicized a certain kind of way? Yay or nay?
Yeah.
Well, once again, that depends. I mean, y'all know I eat politics for breakfast and dinner. I probably shouldn't. It ain't the best meal, but you know, I mean, one of the things that hasn't been said about it, and not to get political, but it is what it is. You know, Operation Warp Speed, headed by Trump, is one of the reasons why the vaccine was made available as quick as it was. A lot of individuals said that it couldn't be done before the year ended, but here we are. We have 2 vaccines. You won't really hear that mentioned in the media. Nobody really, it's not about who gets credit, who doesn't get credit, but it is what it is. It is a vaccine that came to be in the era of the Trump administration. It is what it is. But it's interesting, though, during that time, certain individuals who are now in leadership were saying that they weren't going to get it because they didn't trust it. Now they're on the side where they're encouraging the public to get it, and they've now gone out to get it themselves. So I say that to say that it shouldn't have been political. To answer your question, Marvin, it shouldn't have been political, but unfortunately, it is. And so we are where we are. Also, in regards to the science, Justice, that you mentioned, this COVID-19 is SARS COVID-19. So CJ, it's not necessarily a new disease. It's part of the SARS virus that we dealt with under when Obama was president. This is just a kind of deviant of that SARS. So it's SARS coronavirus, COVID-19. So I've also read that the vaccine that's out there is a variation of the vaccine that people had to take when that SARS was out. I have a lot of friends who are in the healthcare industry, doctors, who have gotten the Moderna vaccine, and they said that, well, they weren't afraid because this same vaccine a version of this vaccine had been introduced to them when Obama was president, and we had to deal with the SARS outbreak that was going on then. So it's not that new. So in creating this vaccine, it wasn't like they created the vaccine from scratch. They took a vaccine that was already out dealing with the SARS and made modifications of it to be able to deal with this particular virus in that family of viruses.
That's a good point, Uche. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people, and if y'all remember the little Lysol sprays, I've seen coronavirus as one of the things that Lysol, this is years ago, is one of the things that Lysol kills. And I think a lot of people are thinking that this vaccine was created in 1 year time, but like you said, Uche, the technology has been there. They just picked it up once the pandemic really started spreading. But yeah, they've been the thing about the government, y'all, and we've seen enough movies to confirm this, is they always got, well, let me be careful what I say. They know pretty much everything that we need to know about any and all bacteria and viruses and things of that nature. Like, there's a cold storage. If you guys have seen the movie Contagion, I highly recommend it because it really tells the story of what we're dealing with now in a story format, in a movie format. But basically, the movie was about this particular virus that was created by a bat biting a pig. And then the pig was taken to the meat market, and then the meat market, the guy chopped up the pig, and then the blood, somehow, some way, the biting of the bat and all these other things caused the virus to be created. And so I think that a lot of us have to realize that this stuff has already been out, y'all. This stuff has already been out. They just, I don't think it was meant to spread as bad as it did, but they always know. The government always knows, and so I think, if anything, with the new administration, and I'm agnostic when it comes to politics. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. Personally, I think that it's important to know that what this new administration should be doing and better do is really take this thing serious going forward and really at least make it available. Like you were saying, Uche, once that herd immunity is created. And as more and more people just in general learn more about the vaccines, and we kind of see what happens with different people and reactions and all that, then we'll feel comfortable taking it. Because we're all public school alumni, so we've already had to take a whole bunch of vaccines we didn't even know nothing about. Just to enroll, or if you got kids, just to enroll your kids in public school, you had to take a whole bunch of vaccines you never heard about. So this is just one new thing that I personally think they are going to eventually mandate and require you to take it if you want to have your kids in school. And I'm for it once we have more information about it. So yeah, go ahead, Justice.
Yeah, I wanted to chime in. Just Uche mentioned he was talking about when did seatbelt actually become mandated, and when it was car insurance, these things becoming mandated. I don't know exactly when, but I do remember that when cars were first made, it really wasn't a requirement for people to wear their seatbelts. And then whenever insurance came along, apparently seatbelts were made a part of the law because insurance companies complained to the government that they were tired of paying so much out to victims of car crashes that were dying from not having worn their seatbelts. So it was a money situation. Like, hey, insurance was like, we cannot afford to keep paying this. You know, the insurance industry is in jeopardy if y'all don't do something. So then the government made it a law: click it or ticket, must wear your seatbelt. So you might think it's like, okay, they're caring about our lives, but really they're caring about the pockets of, you know, the economy. One of the major industries is at risk of basically being like possibly going away, being in jeopardy if not for this. So I'm kind of with that being said, I feel like the taking the vaccine for COVID will eventually be something that you can't bring your kids to school if they haven't had it. I feel like it's going to eventually become lost. Not right now, just like seatbelts weren't at first, just like car insurance weren't at first, but you know, I feel like the same pattern happens where life insurance policy, or I mean, people keep dying from it. Therefore, all these life insurance companies are paying out on COVID deaths, even though there's vaccine available. They're going to once again complain to the government and say, "Hey, please make people do it." And then let's say at first, for the first couple people, there was a $10,000 incentive. Eventually, for the last group of people, there's no incentive. If you actually do this, or you're going to be at risk of like legal punishment. That's one of the reasons why I can put in my mind. Well, I don't know if y'all agree or not, but I feel like the vaccine at some point will become mandatory, just like the chickenpox thing or a lot of other things were. So I feel like if there's some cash on the upfront, like just think about it in that same pattern. Could be wrong, but we'll let to hear. D-Boy, I know you want to chime in. What you gonna say?
We keep asking the question of mandatory for insurance for cars. So in the United States, it became mandatory in 1927, and in the state
the boy
of
pulled
Texas,
his receipts. He done pulled receipts.
1991.
Say it again.
Yeah, you know, just in case inquiring minds would like to know. Yeah,
and I
D-Boy
appreciate
got
that.
them receipts, y'all. I love it. Now let me ask y'all. let me pivot for a second, y'all. Why y'all think it hasn't been so many cases, specifically with our podcast being Five African Brothers? And by the way, if you're tuning in on YouTube, be sure to hit that thumbs up button and follow us on social media. Why do y'all think that it hasn't really affected Africa as much as they thought it was supposed to? But what I will say though, I recently traveled to the Caribbean, and what I will say is that the sun does have something to do with it, because if you think about, you know, what the sun does, ultraviolet rays, things of that nature, it kills viruses, it kills bacteria. The sun by itself will kill a lot of things before it gets the ability to fester. Now, personally, I think, in my personal opinion, I do think that the cases are probably going to start going down when we get out of the cold. But, you know, I don't necessarily, I think specifically with Africa, I think Africa is such a dense, well, okay, certain parts of the continent are it's a lot of people, but by and large, things are very, spread out, right? And so the fact is that, you know, at the end of the day, the way that certain cultures clean themselves may be different depending on the part of the world that you're in. And so if you're not constantly washing your hands, if you guys remember, you know, before you eat some fufu, you know, you dip your hands in that water, and there's some people that they don't even wash their hands before they eat. They leave the bathroom, you know, so on and so forth. So I do think that people assume, because of the negative connotations on the continent and the kids with the flies in their eye and all that stuff, they assume that it would really hit Africa really hard like Ebola did. But I just think with this particular type of virus, what it does is it hasn't done that.
I have a good. Go ahead. So, no, just one really quick. I was just gonna say, I think you actually just reminded me that it hasn't affected Africa. I really haven't seen too many headlines of COVID really just ravaging the continent of Africa like that, and I didn't really like think about that. I also saw something today where China, the journal article read basically how nobody's talking about how China shut down like the COVID pandemic, like almost like they really shut it down, and they got it under control, and no one really seems to talk about that. While in the Western world, it's not really we're not seeing that, and they pretty much, it just was interesting. Like they basically said, like the way China's government works and how strict they can be, and how they basically weren't letting people leave the house for like. They were only letting people leave the house every 5 days, and only to get essentials every 5 days. If you were seen out, the police would chase you home, and this is just their norm there. So they really were able to shut down. But in the Western, in our part of the world, we want our freedoms, we want our liberties. You don't put too much government on us, this and third. So people are allowed to walk around and say, no, I don't want to wear my mask. So I think I don't know if Africa has similar culture, but from the part of Africa we know, we know African government to be pretty strict as well. So I feel like either they're able to keep it under wraps because of that. Like it's just really how your culture, how the government works. Like Africa, I feel like similar to Asia, like they know how to be very strict. So I don't really know what they have going on over there, but I feel like that might play a part of it. But I also think genetics plays part of it as well, because by God's grace, nobody out of us 5 African brothers or our family, to my knowledge, has been affected by it. So while I know people that have had a family member die from it, and they've had like 6 or 7 family members also die from it. Like people whose families are affected, like are heavily affected. They've lost 3 to 4 plus family members, while there's us who, we haven't had anybody. So fingers crossed, God forbid that changes. But I do think that those who are, I think genes plays a big part of it, and your government, and just the kind of like the culture of your government wherever you're at. And I think Africa has strict government and good genes. So I think we might have that combination working in our favor over back home.
Yeah, I want to also add on to that. One tied to what you said, Justin, and what you also said, Marvin. So the perceptions of Africa, we already know from living. I was born in Nigeria, amongst the 5 of us. But we all know that the images that they portray of Africa is false, right? The image of the people with flies in their eyes, that's a very small sector in some African countries. But the majority of African cities and African countries are very developed. The infrastructure is very developed. So so that's there. Now there are some aspects where some of these African countries are undercounting the number of people who are infected. Keep in mind that the only way you know if somebody has COVID or not is if they've gotten tested and they test negative or positive. If a lot of people aren't getting tested, you really don't know, and you really don't have an accurate number of how many people, how badly or not so bad your population has been impacted. That's one thing. The other thing too is, so we don't know if the counts are accurate. But I know the other aspect is, okay, if you listen to the news this week, there's a variant out there, right? There's a mutation in the COVID.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, so there's 2 mutations out there, one from United Kingdom and another one from South Africa. Okay, yeah. So we have the cases from United Kingdom here in the United States, but we don't have any cases of the mutation from South Africa here in the United States. I would say because of proximity, for obvious reasons. One thing that's interesting is that when the vaccine came out, some of the vaccines came out, there were trials being done in South Africa. A lot of the hospitals there, I forgot which vaccine it was, but they were giving it to the hospitals there to administer it to their citizens. And then also remember that United Kingdom was amongst the first to start vaccinating their population. So I'm seeing 2 commonalities in that, being that, okay, these 2 places were among the first to start administering the vaccine. Now they're the main 2 places where the mutation has come from. Now, a lot of people in the health industry say the mutation of viruses is natural. That will happen from time to time. The cold virus is not the same. The flu virus is not the same flu virus it was many years ago. So that's natural. So that's my take on it. I think Africa is not being ravaged because there might not be accurate counting, but then also there is a lot of population is very spread out. It is a warmer climate environment, but then also I think we don't know. I won't say genetics plays a part, but there are a lot of shots out there. There's not too much of a regulation on medications. Africa doesn't have an FDA per se. Now, it's a large continent. Each particular country has its own way they regulate medications, but even the hydroxychloroquine, and this may be a factor, maybe not. I'm not perpetuating a medication that they don't know for sure, but hydroxychloroquine is something that's very common in Africa. because it's a malaria treatment, a lot of people, when they were early in age, have already had it's called just chloroquine back there introduced to their system. So that's another aspect too that may be or may not be a factor.
Yeah. Now, really quick, speaking on just kind of like segueing this into like I think a new area that I would love to hear y'all's different opinions on. As we mentioned, the culture of your government, the culture where you're at, and the regulations being imposed or that are even constitutionally legally able to be imposed, I think plays a very big part in what's happening. Obviously, as we discussed. For example, if y'all seen a lot of the anti-masker videos that are kind of going viral on Facebook, Instagram, it's normally titled or captioned a Karen or a Kevin, a male version of a Karen. It's typically been, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've only really seen in most of those videos one race of people that are like really going wild in the stores and being and like kind of making, I'd say, the most dramatic anti-masking videos I've seen have been typically white people. And I think that's part of the culture over here is that we kind of see in America sometimes is there is a little bit of feeling of like, you can't tell me what to do in this country versus in China or in Africa. Now, when it comes to school, for example, I feel like in China and in Africa possibly, or for sure maybe China, it's probably for the kids. It's probably a strictly work from home. I'd have to look it up, but it might be a strictly schooling from home type situation. I'm not too sure about that, but I know here in America we have the choice. A lot of parents are having the choice of whether or not they want to send their kids to school in person or online. Even my old university, I think they have that option as well. Being that 3 of the 5 African brothers are fathers, we'd love to hear you all's take on how do y'all feel about sending y'all's kids to school versus going online? Are you happy you have the option? Is it something you're taking advantage of? Is it something that you would not take advantage of? We can start from whoever, but I'd love to hear that because me and CJ don't have kids, but also I want our take on would you send your kids to school versus from home? Can you do that or not? Let's discuss that.
No problem. I was one of the parents that was for sending their kids to school when the option became available. Only because for me, it was either send her to school or send her to daycare. Pay for daycare, school is free. So for me, it was one of those things to where whatever the risk may have been for her going to school, she was open to that same risk at daycare. So it was like, for me, it was like, do you want to pay for that risk or not pay for that risk? So with me, I was for my children going to school because the alternative was not better. So that's how I personally felt about it. But I think that it's just it has to be taken on a situation by situation basis. Everybody's situation is gonna be different. If I was a parent who was able to keep my children out of school and it'd be financially feasible and it'd be safe for them as well, then I may have looked at that as an option. But that wasn't my situation. So for me, I was for them going back to school.
I mean, for us, for my wife and I, it was we couldn't wait for the schools to open back up. So we live in a school district that where as soon as they were able to open up, they made it available for parents to bring their kids for in person, and we took advantage of it. We weren't homeschooled growing up. So that's just something that I've never been a fan of. We knew people who were homeschooled, but we weren't ourselves. So now when an environment came that all the children of the world almost would in some way have to be homeschooled, we weren't fans of that. So as soon as the schools opened up, we let them go. They wanted to go. So we were like, okay, well, and we wanted to get back to some type of normalcy for them, and then also the research out there showed that children were less susceptible to the COVID-19. So I think the risks were low, but the benefit of them being in an environment with other children, learning with other people, because I think that's among the best ways you learn. We said, in this scenario, the benefits outweigh the risks. Let's go ahead. And that was one of the things where we were among the first in there, among the first to send them, because there was another wave of individuals to come to bring their children back to school. We went with the first wave, and no issues there, no regrets. So yeah, we were fine with that decision.
Well, I think
Mark?
yeah, I think for me personally, it really depends on your area. In the particular cases, I mean, my wife is, I guess, she's considered a first responder. She's an educator, and so, being in those schools, those are super. They depending on where you are, those definitely can be super spreader ish type, situations because, we know what we tell our kids and we know how serious we're taking it, but everybody isn't taking it serious. There are some individuals that still believe that it's a hoax. There's some individuals that, are just paranoid and they won't even leave their house. And so I think that there's no right or wrong answer. I think, as you mentioned, D-Boy, you have to do what works for you. And and then Uche, to your point, you want to have that sense of normalcy. So I think that if you're in a situation where you have the ability to do something different, for me personally, I work from home, so I have the ability to watch her, because you're right, D-Boy, if I had to pay some daycare or something like that, it might be a totally different story. And so I think that you're not wrong if you send your kids to school and teach them to take this thing as serious as it really is. But if you do have the ability to keep them at home, the safest place to be, in my opinion, is with family, because you can control that situation. You can control who comes in and out of your crib. You can control things of that nature. But we made the decision to keep our little one at home, just because, like I mentioned, my wife is in the school, so we already have one party in this house that is exposed to the virus on a daily basis, and so she's doing her part to keep herself safe. She got the whole face shield and all that. But if we had her and our daughter, in school, that would be 2 out of 3 that's exposed to it on a daily basis, and it just wasn't something that we were comfortable doing. But again, you're not wrong if you have your kids in school, and you're not wrong if you decide to keep them at home. Either way, technology does allow us for her to still see her homegirls via Zoom. They be chopping it up on Zoom and all that. And these kids, y'all, they so technologically advanced, man. They know how to do stuff that we could never do at their age. So if it was 10 years ago, it probably would be a different story. But we're in a really good time to be alive. So yeah.
Yeah. One quick follow-up to the whole school discussion. I just imagine if this whole pandemic was happening during our prom season, our high school graduation season, our freshman year of college season. Like, I really do feel bad for the for the kids who are having these milestones during this time, because those are moments you really can never get back. And after it passes, there's really no redoing it. And I really felt bad. I'm like, if I didn't have prom or an open, cool, active college freshman year, like if I was having to do all these things from home, I've heard it's actually a lot of kids are really depressed in this time. So one thing I'm not envying.
Well, I wanted to say one quick thing for y'all generation, Justice and D-Boy, CJ. How is y'all generation like looking at this whole thing? Not with the kids, just are folks taking it serious in y'all particular gen? Because y'all the 20s, so how are they handling it? CJ, you go, and then Justice, you go.
Yeah, I think my generation has been kind of, I think generally we all just like, it's serious, but it's out there. I think, in Houston, Texas right now, people are moving around like it's not out there, but I think they just understand, look, I'm not going to stay in home every day. You know what I mean? I'm not going to not live because it's out there. So I guess they're kind of adopting the YOLO, the YOLO mindset a little bit. It is what it is when it comes to that. I'm not seeing a lot of my friends get it that are living that way. I'm not seeing a lot of my friends get it that are being a little bit more reserved. So, I mean, you just pick your poison, whichever one you want to deal with. Neither one is wrong, I don't think.
Yeah, but like CJ said, I think the right now people mid-late 20s, it's a really big YOLO culture I'm seeing. I think they're like, hey, if I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna get it. If I'm gonna, if it's gonna take me out, it's gonna take me out. I'd rather have spent the period still living, making memories versus staying at home and you can still end up getting it. So I think mid-20s, especially here in Austin, here in Texas, mid-20s, everybody is kind of it's almost as if a pandemic wouldn't happen, unfortunately, from what I've
So which one of y'all was at that Bow Wow concert in Houston?
Wow.
That super spreader concert.
I don't think I'm not in
Bow Wow?
not in Houston, but even if I was, I don't think. No.
Concert featuring Bow Wow. I don't know what I'm talking.
I really big.
Yeah. I don't know. Shout out to you, Bow Wow, but I don't think I would have risked it for that concert.
Shout out to Bow Wow.
Shout out to Bow Wow.
No, but I wanted to see just real quickly segue into that point also. Marvin kind of introduced this topic in regards to the impacts on the business community, right? I think Justice being part of the entertainment industry and also being in Austin, one of the aspects of this pandemic that a lot of people haven't thought about are the economic impacts to businesses, namely businesses in the entertainment industry. From my background, I worked in that industry as well. And people don't. I know people are like, well, club promoters or club owners or bar owners should do something else. But you got to understand that when it's your livelihood that people come into your establishment, listen to live music, have some beverages, have some snacks. When that's your livelihood, it's difficult for you to tell those people to work from home. It's difficult for you to tell those people to Zoom. I don't care how many Instagram concerts we've seen this year or last year. It's not the same. It's just not the same. So we want to remember those people as well, and just I don't know, what do y'all think about how can those businesses survive? Can they survive?
I just think personally, certain industries, unfortunately, I don't think I'll be going into a movie theater anytime soon when streaming is available through this pandemic. So I just think that businesses just have to learn how to pivot. If you're in that entertainment space, for example, I think that you may have to get creative, at least for the time being. You may have to figure out, how can you connect with your customer virtually in some capacity and still create that sense of community until we can see each other again face to face, because this is the reality. Even when movie theaters come up, a lot of these movie companies are now dropping their content 100% through streaming, and I'm excited about that because it gives us, it's a more of a personal situation, a personal experience versus, I will miss the community of a movie theater, but I don't know, y'all. I don't think I'll be setting foot in a movie theater anytime soon, even after this pandemic. So I just think it depends on the industry, man. But you definitely got to pivot.
I've been to the movies. We've been to the movies twice since the pandemic started.
How was it?
It was good. Hardly anybody there. So I think the safety aspect was there for us. So we had a whole 4 or 5 rows to ourselves. I think that each of us occupied a row. Without a problem.
Laid out.
Yeah, exactly. But it's hard for them because keep in mind, movie theaters don't make money. They don't make the movies. They just the conduit to which the public can consume it, and they just make money off the popcorn and the concession. So it might be easy for Time Warner to pivot, but it's not easy for AMC or Cinemark to pivot. And we know AMC had filed for bankruptcy, and some other movie theater chains have looked at filing for bankruptcy. So I don't know if some of those businesses can pivot.
I will say this, y'all. I feel worse for people in the dating world during this pandemic because now that's got to be a prerequisite. Is what's your COVID status? So you know what I'm saying. So I just feel like only the strong will survive. So as it relates to businesses, certain businesses, unfortunately, it's just like, do we really feel bad for BlackBerry when most of us have iPhones at this point? You just have to adapt, man. You just have to adapt. So that's my answer to that point, is you just have to adapt in your business, or unfortunately, you're gonna fall by the wayside. Because there are certain companies that ain't been hurting, they ain't been stressing. Amazon ain't been stressing right now.
Technology.
Yeah.
Yep. Technology is definitely winning. Won in
Absolutely.
2019 and 2020, and they're winning and going into first quarter 2021. Yep.
Absolutely.
Survival of the fittest. You're right, Marv. Only the strong survive. You gotta, business ain't working. Pivot your business approach and do what you gotta do to survive.
You got to
So
build
entertainment industry is dead. Is what y'all saying? Entertainment industry is dead.
No. They're pivoting. They're pivoting. It's mostly online content. These webcam type of shows and talk shows now.
I don't think it's dead. I don't think it's dead. I still personally feel like it's a lane for it because I know me. I enjoy going to a concert, going to a comedy show, going out. I enjoy dressing up and going out. Like doing things at home is cool, but it's a different feeling. You know, you want to dress up nice and go somewhere. So I definitely feel like there's still a lane for them, but right now, currently, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough for them. But I kind of feel like once things kind of die down, the cases drop a little bit more. I feel like we take buying concert tickets on the concerts because as we see in certain states, people still clubbing, people going out. So it's still a
Atlanta.
They're gonna definitely
Atlanta.
some things up though. For sure.
Houston.
It's people coming from different states to party here in Atlanta. It's crazy. But but I'll tell y'all this, and we're gonna wrap it up on this point. I think that just large crowds in general. I don't know about y'all, but like when I'm in large crowds and I'm like, yo, where they mask at? Like that's now in my mind. If this person got a mask, that person got a mask. Because in my head, that makes my anxiety go up. So y'all are right. I mean, I look forward to concerts for sure, but it's just going to be different. I mean, unless these businesses got cash to float, everything going on, it's going to be a while before folks feel comfortable going to concerts. But I miss concerts. You're right. Versus is dope. But it just don't cut it, especially when you got janky Wi-Fi. Or they got janky Wi-Fi. So
yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, this has been a super, super dope, nearly hour conversation with the five African brothers. What'd you say, D-Boy? What'd you say, D-Boy?
I say to them versus battles, man. I'd be like,
I mean,
versus battles, man. Some of them, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's some of them they should have tested their Wi-Fi out before they got on there, and some of them you can tell they on their cricket phone. So I don't really know, but hey, y'all, it's been dope, y'all. I mean, I think that we need to give ourselves a round of applause for the inaugural Five African Brothers podcast episode. If you're tapping in from YouTube, this is another friendly reminder to make sure you subscribe, make sure you hit that thumbs up button, make sure you hit that notification bell, connect with us on social media. There's a whole bunch of places that you can tap in with us: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can, and our respective social media handles that you see here. If you're watching this on YouTube, follow Justice at Swaggy Justo, follow Uche at The Running Speaker, follow your boy Marv at The Early Life _. So we are super excited. We're going to try to bring this to you guys at least once a week. If you have any ideas for content or some areas that you'd like the Five African Brothers to expand upon, join our Facebook group. It's a huge community that we're building out, y'all, that we're going to really keep the conversation going, and we can talk about things that may or may not be a good fit for the particular podcast. But let's continue the discussion. Let's tap in. And Five African Brothers signing off. Peace.